One Nation is really a party for everyone. It doesn't mean that everyone needs to be a part of the party. It means that that specific group that we're a stand for, that we're vying for, that we're strategizing and calculating for, that specific group is everyone. And so we really are a party for everyone, regardless of who finds themselves a part of this party. And my intention right now is to share with you in a very specific and distinct way the latest expression of the One Nation Party platform. And you're going to see some language that's going to sound familiar from the presentation, A Campaign to Rebirth Our World. That presentation was designed to really create the awareness of the impact that we can make by running a real evolutionary and revolutionary 2020 presidential campaign. And the purpose of this presentation is to ground and crystallize what the One Nation platform is. Now, if you go to most political party websites and you click on the platform link, you'll see something like a 20 to 40 page document. And they're going to give you a very specific stance or position on a set of topics and issues. And that is all designed inside of that previous paradigm, that win-lose paradigm that we talked about before. And the One Nation platform isn't coming from that paradigm. Most topics, we can't actually say that we are for or against this, because most topics haven't had the depth of the conversation and analysis and actually the process of seeing it through all of the perspectives sufficiently to be able to know. The process will help us know the result on the topic issues. So the platform itself is designed to pull us into an actual new paradigm of politics. And there are many people who won't be satisfied with what I'm about to present, and that's fine. And they might be more inspired and more called to work in other aspects of political activism. And that might be the right thing for them to do. And we need people that are working exactly where things are at. It's a really beautiful calling. And One Nation is a stand for where things are going. And so we have to play by a different set of rules in order to get somewhere that completely transcends our current experience of reality. So without further ado, I would love to share with you the official One Nation platform. And this says part 2 because it's a continuation off of a previous presentation called the One Nation platform that many of you have seen already. It's really an invitation to go on a courageous journey into a new world. There's no other way about it. Almost every aspect of it might confront like what we think we're supposed to be caring about or what we're supposed to be worrying about, or these hot topics that we're supposed to have a position on. But I'm inviting even a deeper exploration so that we can get out of just thinking about today, but start to really position ourselves for tomorrow. The One Nation platform directly speaks in to a paradigm. That in of itself, Isabella said that One Nation is a party of firsts. And this is the first party that I know of that actually states the paradigm, the way we think about the world and reality, the way that we interpret what's actually going on as the foundation of the platform itself. First aspect of that paradigm is that all-win paradigm, that all-win aspect, that we are devoted to figuring out not who's right and who's wrong, but how we can transcend every conversation and every topic in order to be able to create and discover solutions where everyone can win together. And I don't say that from a naive place. I know that for some issues, that might take 10 years. It might take 100 years. But that's the journey that we're willing to travel together to figure out how to create a world where all people, all animals, and all plants can coexist in a thriving future reality. Another aspect of the paradigm is holism. That no one and nothing is left out of our consideration. That we keep asking through that culture of inquiry, what more? What haven't we thought of? What stakeholders haven't we yet considered? How can we go deeper? How can we better understand the various consequences, intended or otherwise, of this decision, and keep asking deeper and deeper and deeper? Holism is an ideal. We just keep going further and further to understanding every aspect of society we possibly can. And the deeper we go into holism, the better solutions we're going to create. The third aspect of the paradigm is One Nation is for people who feel a devotion in their heart to create an exceptional society. Some people go as mythic to say heaven on earth, right? One Nation, the party platform itself is designed for those with the paradigm orientation that they want to go and give their all to actually create a thriving society that only exists in our imagination. And for those who have that passion and flame in their heart, we deeply invite you to come together so we can build that world together, starting from ourselves, our communities, our organizations, our companies, and inclusive of our government. It's the fundamentals of the paradigm aspects of the One Nation platform. Now, another aspect of the platform itself grounds us into process. And process is what produces the outcomes, not opinion, not ideology. So we walk you through some of the fundamental aspects of the process. And as a party, when somebody says, what do you stand for? You say, we stand for a new process. Because that's actually what the founding mothers and fathers stood for too. The Constitution is actually a process. It's not a topic. It's not an ideology. It's a process. It's a context that if you apply it, it can actually generate solutions and outcomes despite a myriad of different scenarios that might present themselves over hundreds of years. And those who love the Constitution, who are devoted to the Constitution, what they're actually saying is, I love the fact that at the bedrock of this country is a process. Now, we've abused that process, manipulated that process. We've co-opted that process. But that's the ideal and that value, is that there's process. So that as people, as leaders come and go, the country isn't thrown on the whim of a personality, because a process is the bedrock of our country. And I'm proposing that a process be the bedrock of our party so we can rebirth that original intention of our nation and make sure that we devote ourselves more to a process than any particular opinion on any particular topic. So what would that process be comprised of generally? Step one is always first seeking what's working on any particular topic. It's called appreciative inquiry. Let's look around the country for what's worked on this particular topic. Let's look around the world for examples of what's worked on this particular topic. Because when we're in appreciative inquiry, we save ourselves so much time of experimentation, because other people have already run experiments, and then we can learn from those experiences and build off of them. And if we miss this step, we're just costing ourselves years of experimentation. And there's no reason to waste that time. So we have to start by looking at what's already working with a certain vigilance and inspiration. The second step of the process is we establish common ground. That's where we start. We find out, what do we have in common? Sometimes it's more easy to see what we have as distinctions, but there's always something that people that have differing perspectives on issue have in common. We experienced in the One Nation Congress an example of that the energy lifts when we identify where's our common ground. And that common ground on the topic could be as base as we're humans. You're a human, I'm a human. Or maybe we both have children. You have children, and I have children. We both love our children. Or we can go more complex than that on any particular topic. But first, before we start hashing out any particular issue, we establish where's the common ground. From that point, we're ready to start to take multiple perspectives. And I've said here, integrate all perspectives. Now that word all is an ideal, but it's an ideal that's worthy of pursuing to become better and better at ensuring, have we heard all perspectives? Have we inquired all perspectives? Are there more perspectives? What perspectives have we not inquired? And maybe some of those perspectives are voiceless, like whales or deer. How can we make sure that we see this from those perspectives? Or trees or moss? How do we keep rooting deeper to see this particular topic from as many perspectives as possible? If we're in win-lose, we're out of this game. This is impossible to do. But if we go into all-win paradigm, then of course, there's no problem. Let's just see it from all the different perspectives, because we're here in a new paradigm holding a space for perspectives to coexist in harmony. Next, we run experiments. That's how we know, because we do things in smaller scales as an experiment. You know, our history of modern era is scarred with opinions about a new economic model that this nation or that nation employed because of some economist. And they ran that experiment at the scale of a country. And they failed miserably. And they have resulted in horrendous humanitarian atrocities. We don't need to just take an opinion and an ideology and then just scale it to the masses, write a bill, get a national budget, and then roll it out. That's irresponsible and immature. Our process is to, once we go through 1, 2, and 3, to come up with an experiment and then run that experiment in a small context with humility to say, we're not sure exactly how this is going to go down, but we're going to watch it, we're going to observe it, and we're going to learn from something that's real. And then what we learned is what we know. And then we scale what we know. We start to increase the scale of our good ideas once we verified what they are. We apply more budgets. We apply a deeper perspective of legislation. We increase the scale of humans that are involved organically. This is how nature works. Nature runs experiments, and then what works begins to scale naturally. And so, One Nation, while this is not a process that's ready to be written into law, these are the concepts of the process. They want everybody who wants to be a part of this vehicle, this platform together, to know well in that this is a stand for process, and these are the core facets of that process. And I believe that this is so worthy that we can stand by it proudly. And someone says, what do you think about the wall? Oh, you want it? And say, you know what? This is the process that I stand for. And I want to apply this process to how I think about this topic. And I haven't fully. I don't know how to yet. I need to figure out how I can be able to run this topic through this process. And maybe I don't know yet. Maybe I'm not sure. Maybe I want to think that I know the answer, but maybe I haven't actually seen it from everyone's perspective yet. And saying that, rather than here's what I think about it, is going to start changing the world. Like, I haven't actually talked to enough people who feel strongly in an opposing view. And that's what I want to do first. before I tell you what I think about this. That's going to change the world. So One Nation's party platform revolves around paradigm and around process. The last aspect is what I'm going to call objectives. Okay, so we're not spineless. It's not that there's nothing that we want to be able to achieve. And the founding fathers and the founding mothers of this country also weren't spineless. They didn't just say, here's a process. They said, here's a process in order to create a more perfect union. Here's a process so that all can experience liberty, justice, and freedom. So they had some objectives as well. And so do we. We have some objectives. And I want to share with you the objectives of the One Nation platform. Number one, to transform American politics. And the reason that it's to transform American politics and not to transform politics around the world is because the world is looking to America for leadership. You know, there's some people in this room who might be very proud to be an American. Others might be ashamed to be American. Most of us are probably both. But regardless of that, we still have a role of leadership in this world. And as America goes, so too will this world. And so this devotion to transform and upgrade democracy in America is the devotion to serve all humanity. Number one is to end the two-party system in America, to dislodge our American government from the entrenched interests that have prevented other players from coming to be able to really make the republic work for all. Number two is to incite a renaissance of civic engagement. You know who the most important person to elect in 2020 will be? President you. President you. What we need to do is to have every American take one step further towards feeling that level of responsibility for this land and this people. Everyone to take one step further into their own personal empowerment, to trust that what they think and what they feel matters, and that their leadership needs to come forward into this world. And so our party platform objective is to help to make sure that every single day that goes by, this political party does a better job of helping more people feel more responsible for this world and government. And the third objective for transforming American politics is to actually technologically and legally upgrade the democratic process in America. It's time for our democracy to go online. It's time to digitize. It's time for us to vote online. It's time for us to organize collectively, officially online, and to have online environments to hold our representatives accountable, to make sure that they understand in a completely transparent way what the people they represent think about particular topics and the processes that they're going through to make sense of the world. And have that official, incorruptible space where as soon as somebody's elected, that's not where the relationship with their constituent ends. That's where it begins. And we all go into that office together. We can do that with very simple technological upgrades to democracy. And the One Nation platform is a stand for us to technologically and legally upgrade the democratic processes in America. Our second objective is to create a thriving world for all. And in order to do that, we have to actually revitalize humans. We actually have to help us to become healthy. One of the fundamental premises of health is what we eat, the quality of the food that we eat. We need to be able to eat real food so we can become really healthy. We have to drink pure water. We have to breathe pure air. We have to realize the ways that we've leaned on substances and chemicals in order to put some Band-Aid on our reality. We have to heal from those addictions. We have to heal from the belief that popping a pill is going to be good enough. There's some contexts, some rare contexts where that's the thing to do. But mostly, we need to improve the quality of our food, exercise, water, and air. We need to decrease our stress. We have to breathe deeply into our bodies. We need to revitalize our humans. The second objective in creating a thriving world for all is to really restore our communities, to restore the integrity of our communities. We come from a species that lived in tribes for thousands and thousands of years. Our entire reality and genetic makeup is built upon living in community. And for so many of us, our communities have been broken apart. Why? Because there's strength in those communities, and we've had rulers that have not wanted us to be strong. And so a society has been created that's created as much division as possible. Get everybody into their own homes. Get everybody on their own couches. Get everybody not thinking for themselves and watching their TVs. Separate, separate, separate. That's a tactic of divide and conquer. And it's time for us to reunite those relationships, to bring community back as a center focus on how we build society. We have to restore both the concept of community as well as the broken and pained communities that we talked about yesterday. How we start to actually heal the pains of the past so we can bring our communities back together despite the atrocities that have happened behind us. And our third objective to create a thriving world for all is to actually regenerate our ecosystems. Like I said yesterday, this isn't a call for clean energy alone. This is a call for us to apply the full capacity of our engineers, of our governments, of our militaries, for the primary focus to ensure that we regenerate our biosphere here on Earth, that we regenerate our oceans, our forests, our mangroves, our atmospheres, and that we help our soils to be regenerated so they're full of nutrients and life again. And the third objective is to establish new social norms. To establish the norm that men and women lead side by side. To establish the norm that our society is devoted to ensuring that our children thrive and excel and grow and mature into responsible, stable, healthy adults, able to focus their energy on stewarding society next. And that we instill the realization that we are, in fact, one human family. One human family of Americans and one human family of all people that live around the world. For that to be the narrative that we keep coming back to. If we want to have narrative warfare on how things are, let's respond with the incessant reminder that we are one human family. And that we start to use that as the premise of all of our thinking. How would we treat our family? And of course, it's time for us to actually initiate a new era. It's time for us to establish a coherent vision of a future reality. It's time for us to incite, support, and ensure that we begin to change our systems. The systems of our world have been created to be fundamentally extractive in nature, extracting the wealth out of the land, extracting the wealth out of the people. But that's not that different than a caterpillar that extracts all of the nutrients from its surrounding, gobbles everything up. But just before you think that caterpillar is going to totally destroy its entire environment, something magical happens. And that caterpillar goes into a chrysalis. And what comes out is a butterfly that can now pollinate, that can now regenerate the very world that it almost decimated. This is a call for us as a humanity, to go through a metamorphosis process so that we ourselves can move beyond the era of being a caterpillar and move into the era of being butterflies. And it's an invitation and a stand for us to provide leadership during this time of deep change. While the world is in complete metamorphosis, the OneNation platform is committed to the objective of making sure that we've got our heads on straight and our hearts wide open so that we can be able to stay in the game and provide leadership during a rapidly evolving threshold in our world. So the OneNation platform is a combination of our paradigm, our process, and our objectives. That's why we're here. That's what you can count on, that we will continue to stand for. And that's what we can start to cultivate and ground and figure out how we as a growing body exhibit and manifest the core genetics of this platform in the world and how we live individually and in what we do collectively. Are you ready for a courageous journey into a new world? Thank you.